I'm just excited for all of what comes post-summer. Big football fan, big hockey fan. Hockey will be starting back up. Under 105 degree temperatures Fahrenheit every day, right? So I'm excited for that. No more melting or spontaneously combusting. In Los Angeles, it gets hot. And so a lot of people like to say, well, you know, it's not humid, David. You have nothing to complain about. It's a dry heat. And I'm like, that just means you literally turn into the humid torch while you're walking around. You just spontaneously combust. We are ready to go. We are live with the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community Call. Today is August 28th. This is our last call for the month of August. Boy, I tell you, where is time going? We're almost into September, and for us in the Northern Hemisphere, that means that winter and autumn and fall and all those wonderful things that happen at the end of the year are right around the corner, so we're excited for all of that. Let's take a look at our agenda for today. We're going to talk about latest updates on the community. We'll talk about things like Copilot Prompt of the Week, .NET Libraries, PowerShell. We'll hear the latest on script samples and Copilot Pro Dev samples, Power Platform samples, all the samples. And then, of course, everyone's favorite time, which is picture time, so get those fantastic faces ready. Then we're going to have three amazing presentations for the day. Matt's here. He's going to talk about his SharePoint Hackathon entry, Viva Connections dashboard, your 365 portal. And, of course, he is a first-time presenter, everybody, so we want to make sure that we show all that community inspiration and love for him and welcome him to the call. And then Heidi will be here talking about SharePoint agents entitled From Content to Conversations, SharePoint Agents in Action. And then Reshmee and Lee are going to talk about declarative agents using M365 Agents Toolkit for a volunteering app. So lots of cool opportunities and ways to see that we can use the technology that we're immersed in each and every single day. But first, let's talk about some of those resources that are available to all of you. If you're new on the call, you may not have been aware that these are available. We will start with our Microsoft Community Learning Videos YouTube channel. This is a YouTube channel where they tell us all the time, you know, if you want to improve your metrics, you should really only post a couple times a week. And we say, you know what? No, we're posting every single day. We're breaking all the rules in all the right ways because we want to showcase all the amazing work that you're all doing. So the demos and the calls, things like this get posted there along with many other videos that you and the community and Microsoft are doing. So definitely go get subscribed so that you can keep up to date. It is a great way to do that. We've got our LinkedIn group for discussions, of course, our open source tooling. We've got all those sample galleries that I had mentioned about, team samples, Power Platform list formatting. Of course, you don't need to remember all of these URLs, just one or maybe two, ak.ms/community/home, or our fancy top-level community.ms domain will also give you access to that information. So bookmark that and check it out regularly. And if you're on this call, hopefully it means you like calls. Well, we've got more. Our weekly with Microsoft Speakers call, which has been a community takeover for the last couple of months, is coming to an end for that community takeover. We're going to go back to a pure Microsoft Speakers call. That is every Tuesday. Wonderful opportunity to get it directly from the horse's mouth. That's right, the horse's mouth, because you've got those product managers and those program managers sharing updates and features and status on all that they're working on. So we get cool previews and sometimes access to provide guidance and feedback. So it's a wonderful opportunity. We've got our monthly Power Platform calls. We've got our Office add-ins. We've got our bi-weekly sibling calls, Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community. You are here. That's where you're at now. And of course, our SharePoint Framework Community call. These are every other week, but it is every Thursday. Subjects are just looking to flip-flop, but we're looking to adjust that, so you'll be on the lookout for that more soon. You can get all of our community calls invites at ak.ms/community/calls. And if you'd like to be aware of what the agendas are in advance, of course, you can follow all the socials, but you can always see it at the meetup. We always post everything there in the meetup the week before, leading up into that week, so you can check it out there in advance. And speaking of that Tuesday call coming up on the 2nd of September, I'm getting ahead of myself. Rabbi is going to be here talking about declarative agents for Microsoft 365 Copilot with type spec. Ika Bass is going to be here, bring your custom engine agent to Microsoft 365 Copilot chat. And then Giorgio is going to be here showing how to use SPFX to surface Copilot agents in SharePoint. Super, super cool. Broad spectrum. Copilot culture is alive and well. So be sure to get that on your calendar. And if you're watching our amazing presenters today and thinking, I really think I could share something with the community, but does the community want to see it? Absolutely. Yes, we absolutely do. In fact, what they'll say is, Woo! That's right. So don't overthink it. If you have something that you would like to see and share with the community, then don't second guess it. If you find value in it, I promise you others have. And if someone has already covered it, that's okay. You're likely going to share it in one way or another, and they're going to hear them in different ways. So don't be afraid. And if you need to be buddied up, that's okay too. Let us know that it's your first time presenting. You might want a support system. We could assist you with building the presentation as well as presenting together if you like. So don't hesitate. Just go fill out that form, ak.ms/community/request/demo. It's not a slasher film, I promise. It's not going to be a horror flick. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a summer blockbuster. So don't hesitate to get involved. And if you also are seeing the samples and you're like, hey, I want to contribute to some of these samples. I got some cool things like, I don't know, a snippet or a prompt or something like that. But I hear y'all use that thing called GitHub. I don't know. That place is scary. Yes, it is. But we are finally getting everything scheduled. You'll notice that there are some new sessions that we are going to be building and looking at right here. If you look at Copilot prompt submission and agent creation, these are new sessions that we're working on. So we've been hard at work while we're trying to get these scheduled for the rest of the year. Just be on the lookout. We appreciate everybody's patience, but we are going to get these on a regular schedule, and that's where we've been focusing our efforts. So sharing is caring, by the way, for those unaware, is a providing hands-on guidance. That means we're going to join live Teams calls together, and we're going to work through things like contributing or building contributions. And so that will demystify a lot of that GitHub labyrinth confusion and mystery that can be frustrating if you're trying to contribute. They are also safe space, which means that we do not record the calls. So you're free to ask any all questions without fear of it going on record, like sometimes we're afraid to do when we know it's being recorded. So no worries about that. You'll be good to go, and everything will be awesome. So be on the lookout. We're getting those scheduled as the summer is ramping down. And then once you do contribute, we want to recognize you. We've got our community recognition program, which by Credly has been recognized as a best-in-class community program. And it's only because of all of you. It's amazing work that you're doing in the community, really providing that power up, if you will. We've got new badges like the Copilot Studio Agent Academy, and it's superhero season, so you can get this Porcupine Rises bonus badge that is available over the next couple of months to get 4 other badges. So when you get 4 of those badges, you get this bonus badge to show off that you've been completing the circuit. Amazing work again, everybody. This is absolutely free. There's no cost for you. We cover the cost with Credly, ak.ms/community/recognition. We do need you to opt in though, and we're looking to start sending out some newsletters about this. So when you opt in, you're going to have the opportunity to be subscribed for that newsletter, which is really, really cool and will help keep you updated. It's been an amazing journey, and we've got over 3,000 in the program now. So again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Amazing work to each and every one of you. We could not be more appreciative. Okay, let's get into some project-specific updates. We'll start with our prompt library. So I mentioned that this is a great low-hanging fruit opportunity for you to contribute because we're all interacting with Copilot and AI each and every day, and we're kind of creating that prompt love language. Well, share it with the community. We all have generated prompts, and they don't have to all be business, by the way. Could be life hacking. It could be recreation. It's there for us to use. Let's share how we use it together. So it's a great opportunity. And if you do contribute, you could be the prompt of the week. So congratulations, Joshua. His prompt is kind of like Promptception, helping you craft better AI prompts with clear guidance. So I won't read this, but you can kind of see the intent is to get AI to help you become a better prompter. Pretty cool. So improve your skills. Thank you, Joshua. Great job. Really appreciate it. And you could be the next prompt of the week. So get going. Now let's move over to PNP.NET libraries, normally played by Bert Jensen. Today is going to be played by the part of Vesa Juvonen. Vesa, what do you got?
No, I'm Bert.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, you're Bert. Air quotes. Bert.
Bert. So on PNP.NET libraries, nothing really new since the last 2 weeks. However, just a reminder, there really cool work on with Christian Sullings from Monday Coffee, addressing the section layouts, which are now supported in the provisioning engine and also in the Pages API. So that's really, really something where we can easily then provision stuff in SharePoint if you're into that side as well. Now, key point there to call out, currently the templates do not support section layouts. We're working on that one as well. So that might happen in the future. But thank you, Christian, on that one, and also Vasco Azevedo on safely handle null footer display name provisioning objects in the provisioning. So things are evolving. I do not have an updated stats, but the growth is just out of this world. We have hundreds of thousands of tenants using this every single month, which is mind-boggling. Let's go to the final slide and talk about PNP PowerShell with Gautam.
Awesome. Thank you. Got him. Take it away.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Professor. So in PNP PowerShell as well, we added a cool new commandlet, get PNP Power App permissions by Siddharth Vagasia. So it will retrieve the permissions that are basically needed for a specific Power App. What else? We improved quite a few commands. There were quite a few issues with the commandlets, such as the get PNP tenant info and the send PNP mail and all of those commands, which were facing some access denied issues due to some incorrect behavior of that. So we managed to fix that. What else? Would love to hear from you. There are quite a few bug fixes and improvements ongoing as well. So please do reach out to us on GitHub. And yeah, that's basically from my end, David.
Excellent. Thank you. Got amazing work there too. Again, with these numbers, millions and hundreds of thousands of downloads and tenants and all of that kind of stuff. Really, really amazing. Thank you all. I feel like we should have the Dr. Evil laugh with the pinky going on there. So wow, great work, everybody. All right, let's get into another amazing community initiative, script samples. Mr. Paul Bullock, tell me more.
Thank you, David. I will tell you more. So script samples is a repository where you can share your PowerShell scripts, Bash scripts with the community. If you use a range of tooling such as the Microsoft Graph, PNP PowerShell, CLI for M365, by all means, and you want to share those with the community, this is the place to go. And I'm more than happy to help support you with any sort of contributions. And we have one contribution which is in 2 scripts by Reshmee Auckloo. So I noticed she's on the call. So thank you, Reshmee, for these 2, both PNP and PowerShell, for adding a SharePoint document library as a tab in Microsoft Teams as a dual sample. So when you submit a scenario such as this, you can actually submit variants. So PNP, PowerShell, and CLI all in the same one. So which is absolutely cool. So thank you for that. That's super cool. And yes, if you have PowerShell scripts or you're struggling to get started or you need some help, by all means reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help. And there's a badge in it for you as well. If you register with David's cool recognition program, then there's a badge in it for you as well. And that's it for this one.
So we're going to get into ProDev samples, Copilot.
And it's me again. So ProDev samples is a place where you can share your Copilot extensibility samples with the community. This is growing all the time, and there's plenty of variations and samples that you could submit because they've got a new schema out. So schema 1.5 is out for declarative agents as well, which has a whole ton of new capabilities and things like that. And we have a new submission from Rabia Williams, who's actually, I think, demonstrating this on Tuesday, perhaps, next week, which is the Tray Research Copilot Declarative Agent, but a type spec version, which is like another language will help you write out these instead of all the learning the JSON form. So go and check that recording out when that's available, or attend the call. Or if you want to have a sneaky peek of the sample, then check out the repo. In the repo as well, we've got a bunch of things like declarative agents with API plugins. So there's quite a few options and things for you to learn as well. And I just want to call out, there's also a companion library called the Copilot Connector samples. It used to be called Graph Connectors as well. So they also plug into Copilot. And all of these are published on the Solution Sample Gallery, so you can see all of them if you want to browse them all as well. But again, thank you very much for contributions on both initiatives, and hope you have a wonderful day. Back to you, David.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul, and great work, everybody. All right, let's get into our Power Platform samples. Kate's out this week, so I will cover this for us. Again, there are tons of Power Platform samples. We've got some nice round numbers down there, 70 samples, 50 snippets, 120 prompts. A lot of opportunity to contribute here. She is working on some of those submissions to get them processed, but thank you, everybody. There is plenty of opportunity for more. As I mentioned, prompts and snippets are a great way. We've done some videos. We'll share them out as well around how you can get involved with those if you need some inspiration, but go submit them. Real easy. And if you're unfamiliar with GitHub, again, please don't hesitate to get keep a lookout for that sharing is caring, or just reach out and ask questions. I'm happy to spend some time with everybody if we need to on a one-on-one basis to kind of help you out with those contributions. All right, well, with that, what time is it? It is picture time, so get those cameras turned on. I'll get mine turned on, and I'll move this over. And while everyone is getting their hair done, except for Paul and I, whose hair is always done, for better or worse, Vesa is looking awfully scared or excited, one of the two. Excellent. Either way, we'll take it. All right, good. I see Reshmee, I see Heidi down there. Excellent. Great to see everybody. We are doing good on time, so we will give it just another second. I know Teams is a little delayed sometimes in getting everything activated. Some folks are still coming in, so that's great. Excellent. Thank you. Wonderful. Good, good, good. All right. Well, let's start the countdown. All right. Yeah, so getting some more in. Excellent. Okay. All right. Let's start the countdown. 3, 2. I see Bess is warming up. All right. There we go. All right. Wave to the community, everybody. Great to see you all again. Thank you so much for showing up each and every week. Amazing the passion that you bring to this community every single day with your samples and contributions, attendance and interactions and feedback. Just really amazing. We cannot say thank you enough. So we really, really, really appreciate it. All right, so let's get back to our regularly scheduled program, and that is going to take us into our presentations for the day. Our first presentation is by Matt Burrell. He was a SharePoint Hackathon entry on Viva Connections dashboard, your 365 portal. And again, this is first time presenting on the call, everybody, so let's show him all that amazing community support that I know you got. Matt, feel free to take on over the screen. The floor is yours.
Hello, yes, it's super to join you this afternoon. Thank you so much for inviting me. So let me share my screen. It's always exciting, is it? Is it going to work? Is it going to work?
Looks great. Take it away.
Ah, brilliant. That's cool. Right, cool. Yes, so everyone, my name is Matthew, and I'm a Microsoft 365 consultant, trainer, and coach. That's not what I've always done all of my life. I have worked predominantly in internal communications, and I have been stuck to SharePoint like glue right back in the old days when the content editor web part was the solution to every problem. And I took part in the SharePoint hackathon, and so I've come along to share with you what I did. So just probably a little bit of a scene set. Really, there is going to be some really cool stuff about agents and AI and all that stuff and jazz in first. This is pretty much back to basics, and I'm a back to basics kind of guy. What I try to do is help people to use the technology that they've already got to the best of their abilities, because we understand that not everyone is super into technology or has the knowledge and skills to get in the back and bend some of the code and stuff. So I'm a true advocate of out of the box. As I said, I took part in the SharePoint Hackathon, and I took part in the Viva Connections category. I also won the Best Video Presenter Voice category, which I think might have been made up, but I don't care. I love it. I'm having it. But the aim of the Viva Connections taking part in the dashboard is I wanted to create an effective Viva Connections dashboard. I hadn't done that for several years since I'd been working in internal comms, and it has moved since then. I wanted to show that you could bring information, corporate information, into Teams, and I wanted to create something that anyone could make. You didn't need to go off and get a degree or something to be able to do that. So the problem really is that in many small and medium-sized organizations, the key workers now live in Microsoft Teams. That's where they go. They open Windows, they go straight to Teams. So how do you bring the important and key information from a browser-based intranet to a place where they spend their day? Viva Connections, if you're not aware what Viva Connections is, it's a Microsoft experience platform, and it's designed to do just that. It won't cram your whole intranet into a place where you can see it in Teams or other devices, but it'll allow you to bring the key elements into those experiences so that people can brush past that information. And that's what you're trying to do: brush them, drag them in. It's a broader part of the Viva suite, and I'm sure you're aware of its brothers and sisters like Engage and things like that. But if I was to summarize it down, I would say it's built on SharePoint. It surfaces well in Teams, but it also looks really great on a mobile. So if that's kind of the use case you're trying to do, is bring information into Teams, but also allow frontline people to use on a mobile, then you really probably should be looking at Viva Connections. Cool. Right. So I'll share my screen, and I'm going to give you a quick demo of what I built. I actually built this. I'm dead proud. There are a few steps that you will probably need to reach out to your IT teams to help you with. And the first one of those is comes to SharePoint. So if you've got a SharePoint intranet that you have built and you love and that you use, you need to make sure that your SharePoint intranet is what's called a home site. I'm going to keep it simple and say that every intranet has a home site. I think you can have a few more, but a home site is that one that it says when you go into SharePoint and you're not sure where to go, it will take you to that place. That's usually the home of your intranet, and that is what Viva Connections hangs off the back. You go to your settings and you'll see the option to manage Viva Connections. If you see manage dashboards or manage something else, your site is not a home site. So that is your first tip that you need to do, is go out and ask your IT people to make that a home site. There's all PowerShells and magic involved in that, and that will make that happen. Once you've got that home site, you will then get a dashboard. And your dashboard looks something like this. If you're used to Microsoft 365, then you will recognize that this isn't a million miles away from SharePoint. And let's let that cat out of the bag. It is SharePoint, but it's just been hunked around to look a little bit differently. And your dashboard here is this card methodology that you can add in, and you will see there are cards for things that already exist in SharePoint: events, tasks, and news. Those things that you create that can be manipulated and reused again and again and again. So this is the dashboard that you create, and you then add items to it. Let's come out of the browser and look at it in Teams, because that's where the magic happens in Teams. I think this really comes to life, that this is where people work in Teams. They can come to an icon. You can look for connections on your apps, look for connections, and you can pin it. Or again, reach out to your IT teams like I did and ask them to brand your connections app. So I branded ours into Your 365. So it doesn't say connections, it says Your 365. So if I was to do a campaign internally to promote this with my colleagues, I'd say go to Your 365 in Teams and get your IT teams to pin it onto the Teams bar for you. You don't need to expect people to do that. So a quick tour of my connections dashboard. Up here, you've got the ability that you can pin content to the top. That content needs to exist ideally in SharePoint. It's curated content, so you pull it through and it sits there. If there's any space, you can tell it to fill it up with SharePoint news. So you don't have to publish the news in there, it will just feature in there. But this is the baby here. This is what I love. This is the dashboard. So if we're looking here at my dashboard, all of this was created out of the box within Viva Connections. So I can just click edit. It takes the same permissions as your SharePoint site. And if you've got edit or full control in SharePoint, then you can make changes to these cards. And these cards come with a full card designer where you can make all of the features, so the icons, the titles, what you want to display in there. And you can do some really cool stuff in there with there's loads of samples in GitHub to see how you can create these cards out. Or you can just use some of the predefined cards that are already in there, things like news and events. So it respects all of the permissions and stuff. You will have seen, you might not have seen it on there, but this new starter card, I didn't see that when I wasn't editing. That's because cards can be audienced. So a new starter, that appears for groups of people who are in a group called new starters. So they've joined the company. So that's a welcome type page that they can go to. And the people is also audienced. So if you're not a new starter, you get shown people. Republishing that to see what the dashboard looks like. You'll see that there is my cards in here, they're laid out two smaller ones, two larger ones, two smaller ones. There is a purpose for that, and that is because these cards reshape for a mobile device. So always have that in mind with your dashboard. And when it oh, sorry, jumped into something else. So absolutely, when you come into your mobile, this is the kind of experience that you can get in the mobile, which is the same dashboard within your Teams app, but you can see that those dashboard bits have been relayed, so they look really nice. So just have a think about that when you're laying your cards out, that a small one and a large one next to each other might not sit particularly nicely when you get people looking at it on their phone. Finally, in the resources section here, then you add in links that from a mobile device creates a menu, but links to those key bits of information. So your processes, your key systems, timesheet systems like that, because people don't go to the internet to read the news. Unfortunately, they go to find the information to do their job. So if you can put those things into your dashboard, then you're going to draw those people to use this. There was, as part of the hackathon, I provided some feedback of some things. This top section here currently doesn't provide much in the way of audience in, so just be wary of that. It's also it doesn't have a light or a dark optionality, so you can see I've used an image in here. That's actually a moving image, a GIF, but just be careful of accessibility if you put dark images and stuff in there. I would really love to be able to see in the dashboard that you could audience cards by device. So some cards that would be great on a mobile but wouldn't be useful on a desktop. And we're seeing that coming in web parts in SharePoint all the time. So I can't believe that can't be a million miles away if it's not already on the roadmap, or it might have even been delivered and I've missed it. But yeah, that is my whistle-stop tour of my Viva Connections dashboard that I submitted for the hackathon. Hit me up on LinkedIn or whatever if you want to chat more, or you want more information. I'm more than happy to chat. I can talk SharePoint until the cows come home, really. But David, that's me. Hope that met expectations.
Yeah, amazing stuff. Really appreciate it so much. I had to say, till the cows come home, we can get the cows involved, right? So we got the cow sound effects. So thank you, Matt. Really great job. And I do want to underscore, by the way, the value of showing off how to utilize out of the box, right? There's a broad spectrum of success here, everybody, whether you're utilizing out of the box features or you're providing deep extensibility. There is so much value in all of that. So really appreciate you bringing that, sharing with it. There's always a lot of little forgotten things that people are like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that existed. I forgot about it all, because we're always looking to create the next big whiz bang flux capacitor. So excellent job, Matt. Wonderful. And congratulations again on the best voice. I'm jealous myself because I am a fan of that as well. So great job. Appreciate it. All right, next up is Heidi. Heidi is here. She's going to talk about from content to conversations, SharePoint agents in action. So feel free, Heidi, to take on over the screen and take it away.
Sounds good. Let me share my presentation here. Are you guys able to see the slides?
Yep, it's loaded. Looks great. Thank you.
Awesome. So I have like a couple slides, but I really want to do demo because I told everyone for my preview here that I was going to pack everything I know about agents in 12 minutes. So this is going to be a rapid fire thing about SharePoint agents. But what I want you to see is how you can work with them. And I want you to walk away from this call with the confidence to just go out there and start creating these agents. So that's what we're going to do today. So just a quick introduction. The groundwork here. We'll go over what M365 Copilot is, because you have to have a Copilot license to be able to create SharePoint agents. And I'll talk about the specific licensing that is needed for that. I will also go over just what's an agent, what's a SharePoint agent, because I know that when we get into the world of Copilot and agents, it kind of starts to get a little blurry about all the things that are out there. So I'm going to bring some clarity to that. And then also let's actually see the SharePoint agents in action, and then some things to consider if we have time at the end. But just a little bit about me. My name is Heidi Jordan. I'm a modern workplace manager at Avanade. I live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I am a SharePoint girl living in a Power Platform world because SharePoint is my first love and it probably always will be. But the Power Platform has also changed my life and what I do. So fluent in all the designer and on-prem things in the SharePoint world. I am a Microsoft MVP for business applications. Contact information is on the screen there. If you have some questions after the call, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk SharePoint, just as the other presenter was just saying. I can talk that all day. So also there's a little icon on the screen there, the bite-sized M365. Another MVP, Pam DeGraffenreid, and I started a little video series, and it's like 12 to 15-minute videos. It's like our own little community calls, honestly, where we do some demos on things that we've learned about M365 all over the board. So feel free to check that out. And let's go into the groundwork. So Copilot. So first of all, let's start with what is M365 Copilot. So M365 Copilot is really just an AI-generated assistant that is embedded into your Office applications. So think about those tools you use every day, like Teams, Outlook, Word, Excel. It's embedded in those systems, and it's also it utilizes large language models under the hood and also your Microsoft Graph data. So you can basically use your natural language prompts to ask this AI assistant questions, and it can bring back answers of things that it knows about your Microsoft Graph. So the emails that you send, Teams messages, documents that you have access to, all the things. That's kind of what M365 Copilot is on a very high level. It is also built on the Microsoft security standards, so anything you're asking Copilot is not sent outside the tenant, it's not trading any models, anything like that. So that in a nutshell is what M365 Copilot is. So what's an agent? So an agent is a virtual assistant that can help you with those processes. So what I kind of tell people is an agent is really the next step beyond Microsoft 365 Copilot. Like M365 Copilot does a great job with those conversations, like help me refine this, help me create this. But then an agent is something that is actually trained on that data and then can provide you better, more eloquent answers to your questions. So you'll see on the screen that there's a bunch of different applications and a bunch of different ways we can consume agents across the Microsoft platform. But what I want to really bring to light is, what is a SharePoint agent? So a SharePoint agent is that automated assistant, but it is actually built on top of your SharePoint documents. So it can perform things like you can ask questions of it, you can help it summarize files, generate content. And then it's also can be scoped to everything on your SharePoint site, SharePoint libraries. You can put multiple things together, which I'll show you. But the kicker there on the bottom is that it does require a Microsoft 365 Copilot license to be able to create these SharePoint agents, or a Copilot Studio pay-as-you-go. I don't want to get into licensing discussions, but I did want to put it out there that you do need some sort of Copilot licensing to be able to use these SharePoint agents, to create them and to consume them, both of them. All right, so let's actually flip over to demo now. I'm going to switch the screen share 1 second, and then we will do some building. And I'm still switching over. I have a SharePoint online upgrade site that I'm going to use for these demos today. So let me grab my notes. All right, so looking here this is the SPO upgrade site. So let me close this. So the first place that you can use SharePoint agents, we're going to start from the top and we're going to dig into how we actually customize and make these things. But the first place that you can use agents is at the site level. So if you look on the top, you'll see the Copilot icon here. And then that's going to open up the side panel, which is the site agent. So this one's actually a different one because I've set it to be a different default one. So I'm going to change it back to the site agent. But this is the site agent that comes when you don't even have to create this. It just comes with the site when you have that M365 Copilot license. So here I can ask this questions about the site. So for example, I could just ask, what are some documents that have been recently updated on this site? So this is again, the conversational, don't think about prompt engineering in a heavy way. I'm just asking a question like, hey, here's a site, tell me the things that were recently updated out here. So as you can see, now it's going to give me some answers like the homepage was edited. There was an agent that was edited yesterday morning. The site is pretty empty. So if you put this on top of a site that has a lot of content, you're going to get much better results. But this is just kind of what it brings back of high level. So then I thought, all right, well, if I'm thinking I'm a new user and I am, interacting with the SharePoint site, like, please explain what the site is and what its purpose is. So I'm using it to get a little bit deeper than just asking for that document retrieval. So you can see that this, it contains a welcome section. There are some learning resources on the site. Here's some visual content. So it's just giving me kind of a high level of this essentially empty site. I can continue to ask questions like this. I tried yesterday, something, please list documents and libraries that were not modified in the past year. I thought maybe that would start to help me. Archival is always a common question. And, when we get SharePoint, we get all kinds of stale data, like how do we use agents to help clean that up? This one is probably not the best example. I put that out there on purpose, but this was not really giving me much to pull back. This is too high level for a site agent, but this might be a better prompt for an agent in like a document library. So now what I want to do is dive a little deeper and show you where something like this would be more relevant. So the other thing too I want to point out is an agent is not enterprise search. They're not the same thing, okay? Enterprise search does a wonderful job of, you just go in and search for something and it brings it back, like an employee handbook. I could go to this site and ask, hey, is there an employee handbook on this site? But then I would have to know that there's an employee handbook on the site to be able to ask the agent. So don't treat this as enterprise search. Treat this as that more conversational, asking questions like it's a person. So moving on to the actual agent demo then, we're going to create one from scratch together. So I have just a document library that has a whole bunch of meeting notes. So it probably looks familiar to a lot of people that work in large organizations that have a whole bunch of meeting notes. So what I want to do is layer an agent on top of these notes. Then I can start to ask questions about what's inside of these notes. So in the ribbon up here, you can see that it says create an agent. So I can click on that and then I can be done. Like that is all you need to do to create a SharePoint agent. It is a one-click, like you're good to go and you can start asking questions of it, which is awesome. But if you want to add in some more things, like maybe you want to customize the welcome prompt or, do some starter prompts or even the sources, you can just click on edit here. And then now I am in, so I can change a little bit about this agent. So zooming in, I can give it a name. Why does this name matter? So let me go back to the home page just for a second. So right when we went to the site agent here, you notice that there was a dropdown and there's a whole bunch of things listed. So the name matters because that is where you'll find the name of your agent is in that dropdown. So if you name everything agent or SharePoint upgrade agent, like it's going to be hard to distinguish which one you're trying to talk to. So make sure that that name is distinct. So I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to name this one CC demo, community call demo, so we know. You can change the logo of it if you want. And then there's a purpose here. It says, please just provide a brief description for the agent's objective. So what I do for this is I actually just go to Copilot and I have it help me with this. I go right into Copilot chat and I tell it, I'm creating a SharePoint agent grounded on meeting minutes. Help me, give me a purpose for this agent. And then it spit out this response for me that this agent assists users by retrieving and summarizing, et cetera, et cetera. So I use Copilot to generate that for me. Works smarter, not harder. So now let's go into the sources. At this page, there's a lot going on. So I want to simplify this. This is essentially where your agent is pulling the information. So right now I can see that it is pulling information from this SPO upgrade site and it's pulling from the documents to library. So there are 10 documents in that site, but right here is the most important thing, is there's up to 20 sources. I thought that meant like 20 documents, but what this means is 20 essentially different pipes. So you can have 20 sites, you can have 4 sites and 16 libraries, or 4 documents, 12 libraries, and 8. It's a combination of multiple things. For governance sake, I mean, the more scope you can have your agent, the better. Obviously, that's just, you're going to have better performance with it, but you don't need to be so limited that it's like less than a hard number of 50 or anything like that. So 20 is kind of the general rule of thumb, is what you can have for your knowledge sources. So I have another library on the site called Learning, and I know there's a document in there that I also want my agent to include in its responses. So I can click here to add additional libraries from the site. So I am on my SPO upgrade site in the documents library. I can change this to Learning, and then I know that there's this upgrade project plan that I want to include. So I'm going to check that as well. And you can see that it popped up that 1 of 19 selected. So then I have 19 more places I can choose to ground my data. So now I can see its documents library and that one document. If I wanted to add another site, I would just click here and search for that URL. and then I can add documents and things from other sites. The last one is behavior. So this shows me just how that agent is going to react. So on the right side, you can see that this is the welcome message. I also asked Copilot again to give me a good welcome message. So I could, I asked it to be an engaging welcome message. I could ask it to be professional, snarky, whatever we want. So here is the welcome message for my agent. I also asked it to give me some good starter prompts that, a user, if someone's coming to the meeting minutes library, what do you think are the prompts that they might want to see most often? Think about those commonly used scenarios. So I'm just pasting those in, the ones that Copilot gave me, and you can see these are all changing on the right side as I do that. And then the last one is agent instructions. So this one is basically, do you want it to use a specific tone, like any limitations, don't talk about this, etc. So again, I asked Copilot chat to give me that, and this gave me a whole long thing about you're an AI assisted agent. Your job is to maintain professional, clear tone. And then it also down here, do not, provide opinions or speculate on meeting outcomes, like give it a little bit more instruction there on what to do. All right, so that's our agent. It is built. So I'm going to save and close. So you'll notice that when we create this, so the agent's opening in the right side so we can start talking to it. It also adds a file here, CC demo agent. So these agents live as .agent files in the library that you just created it. So this is kind of along the lines of like Power BI, it's private till you share it kind of thing. So this agent is here for me until I share it with others. If others have access to this library, they'll be able to see this agent. But if I want to make it available in that dropdown so that all users can interact with it, I need to make it an approved agent. So if you click on the ellipsis right here, there's this set as approved, and then that will actually move it to your site assets library, and then it will show in this dropdown when you first enter the site. I'm not going to show that process for the sake of time here, but let's open that agent again and let's just ask it a question. So I have, what are some decisions that were made about migration timelines? So this is great for, I think, stakeholders, people that aren't there in the week-to-week or day-to-day of the project. They can just come in and see the notes and they can start to ask questions like, what were the decisions that were made? But also, is there anything holding up this project, and what were the actions taken to move this forward? Or, list out all the tasks that were assigned to people, and did we accomplish those? Think of some of those actual things that you would ask a project manager. Those are the things that you could ask your agent now. So you can see that it brought out my migration timeline, it put it into phases. It's got these little footnotes, so it's actually pointing at the files that it found the answers in. So I could click that, and then it would open it up in the notes that it actually found it in. So that's a quick and dirty, like, how do you create the agent? How do you scope it out? A little bit about customization, but I really want to quickly show you how to use it. So you can use it in the context of this library here. So I can just go into the library, open the agent file, and then I can use it there. You can also use it in a couple other ways. They've recently added a new web part called Agent Link. If I scroll down here, there is an Agent Link web part. So let me just show you where that is if I edit this page. So zoom back out. If I want to add in a web part, there is this new agent link. And essentially what this does is it just puts a link to the agent right on the home page. So if I republish this, and then I'll click on this meeting minutes agent so you can see, I can click on that, and then it's going to open up the agent in the side panel here. So that's one place that you can interact with that agent. You can also come in and click on the Copilot at the top here, and then you'll see that drop down of the different agents. This is not agents just on this site. This is agents from all across my tenant too. You see this one's from a different site. So that's another place you can get to agents. But another one, probably my favorite one, is in Teams. So I have added, well, once you publish your agent, there's a little, if you click on the ellipsis again, let me show you. Go back to this one for a second. I could show you, you can generate a link to share it in Teams, and then you can talk to it in Teams. So right here, this copy link for Teams, that is where you can copy that link. All you have to do is copy the link, drop it right into the chat here, and then it will add it to that conversation. So then now you can see here, I just mentioned that agent. So I said, mention the agent and just ask it, what are the latest meeting notes? And what it actually did too is before it gave me this response, it gave me a preview of the response, because Pam is a guest in my tenant and she didn't actually have access to that SharePoint data. So it gave me a preview to make me, validate that it's okay to share that information before it put it in the chat. So a couple different ways to interact with those agents. And I know I'm right about time, so I'm going to stop talking. Go try SharePoint agents. Let me know if you have any questions.
Heidi, amazing, Heidi. Really, really amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much. Also being aware of time, so really appreciate that. But yeah, great content. I mean, so many different agentic opportunities now within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem that it can get kind of confusing. So it's great to know that there's different ways in which we can engage with the content that we're working with and surface it in different places. So really, really appreciate that, bringing the passion and showing us that. We'll have you come back again and show off some stuff. And I know Vesa and I are working on some demos as well. It'll be on the Tuesday calls. So really loving the SharePoint agents. So great job. Thank you, Heidi. All right, we are going to move into our last presentation of the day, Declarative Agent. Hey, another agent using M365 Agents Toolkit for a volunteering app. So Reshmee and Lee are here to share that with us. And I see you're sharing your screen. Looks great. Take it away.
Hello everyone, great demos, both Heidi and Nacho. So we are demonstrating like a volunteering app using the M365 Agents Toolkit, and behind the scene we are using Azure AI Search for grounding, and as well as Microsoft Graph to interact with the SharePoint list. So the idea behind it, I've been quite lucky to work for organizations who give employees time like for volunteering activities. So here's some pictures that some volunteering I've done, from gardening up to running a workshop at a local school. Yes. A little bit about me. So I'm currently working at Avanade, and I'm currently MVP in M365 Dev and M365 Copilot. And up to you, Lee.
Yep, so my name is Lee. I'm a developer for a company called Symity, based in the UK. You can sort of follow what I'm up to on the socials there, so Blue Sky, LinkedIn, and also a Microsoft MVP. So we'll go through the agenda of what we're going to go through here today. So we're going to kind of quickly discuss what the problem is and the solution we came up with for the hackathon. We'll go sort of very quickly over what the solution is. Reshmee will do a demo for us. And then we'll kind of recap with some challenges that we came across along the way, and areas that we could do to put some time into to make it even better. So the problem we're talking about, as Reshmee said at the top, we find that obviously a lot of organizations do offer volunteering time. So you can spend some of your working time helping local charities and initiatives to obviously give back to sort of the local community. But what we found is in some organizations, and kind of anecdotally, it's not always that well publicized. It's almost like it's hidden. And even if it is available, it's very hard to know what are you allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do, how much time you're allowed to spend, what charities are you allowed to spend some time with. And what we've tried to do is kind of consolidate that into an agent. So the idea is that if you want to volunteer, then you effectively go to the agent and kind of say, this is what I want to do, this is when I want to do it. And it will effectively guide you across that process rather than kind of having to do it all manually, sending emails backwards and forwards and reading a load of documentation. The idea is that it kind of makes it lowers the barrier to entry, so it's easier for people to kind of get out and get helping. So from a solution architecture point of view, there's not a massive amount of code. It's all declarative. So we've got a declarative agent. We are then using Azure Search to bring in a load of documentation for all the different charities and what initiatives they offer and what help they need. And we're kind of indexing that in AI Search, and then we're using then Microsoft Graph to put the sort of volunteering and user information into a list. So we're kind of keeping track of who's doing what and when. So as I touched on, we're using Azure Search to kind of sort of vectorize that data and kind of bring it into the agent. Potentially, we could use other data sources. It is, slightly more complicated than just kind of putting it into files and putting it in SharePoint. Obviously, there are other ways to do it as well. But we found it works quite well in this scenario where you've got a lot of disparate data sources that are all, formatted slightly differently. It works quite well. Part of this is we are using, we're using declarative agent plugins. So Reshmee now will talk on sort of how we authenticate with those to get the data out.
So we have some prerequisites, and we've kind of catered for authentication to both the MS Graph and the Azure AI Search. And the solution to authenticate with MS Graph, I've kind of discovered it from Frank Horner's blog post, which kind of describe all the steps, but in very concisely, first you have to create an Entra app ID, specify the permissions, and generate a client secret. And then using the client ID and client secret, we register those in the Teams developer portal. And then once we registered those, we get we call a client registration ID. And then within the plugin, which I'm going to walk through the code, we kind of reference that registration ID through the plugin. So this is authenticating with MS Graph, and the type is OAuth plugin vault, if it doesn't get changed again. And then the other one is the Azure AI Search. Again, we can easily interact by API calls using an API key. So using the similar concept, taking the endpoint for the Azure AI Search and the API key, we register it in the Teams developer portal, and then we reference the API key in the Declarative agent plugin to be able to get the data. And now I'll do the demo. Fingers crossed it all works. So, so here, it's just basically how you access a team app, so the volunteering app. I have some starter prompts already, which are defined within the solution. So when as an end user, I just want to know any volunteering opportunities, which is my company is offering, so I can just look for those. And then what it's going to do in the background, it's going to do an API call to the Azure AI Search. And it's kind of prompting me the information metadata it's going to pass to that API call. So far, it's just nothing. It's just very, very basic. So just the version and or the count is, and then if it works, it kind of pull up all the volunteering opportunities which is currently being offered. It's still generating. And then the other one, I kind of had the developer debug mode turn on. That's why otherwise you won't see the agent debug info, which basically shows you all the metadata and all the actions which it's happening in the background. So in that particular scenario, we can have a look what it actually done in the background. So it kind of listed all the function it kind of iterated through, and if it's matched, it would say match, and then if it ran any particular function, it just show you that it's been that's the function what's been run, the match and selected above ticked. And then so that's under the actions, and then the executed actions. We have more details what it actually done in the background. So we can expand it, and then we'll see that it actually did an API call to the Azure AI Search, and then it put all the response data, which is kind of displayed. And once, if I'm happy, if any of the volunteering activities sounds good to me, and I'll just say create a task for mentoring at a local college, for example, next Friday, because that's when I might be available. And then what it's doing in the background, again, in that here in the scenario, it will call the MS Graph. Okay, let's see. Hopefully it all works. Because I have like the authentication, it needs to know that it's me. So that's why it's just kind of prompt me like to log in to authenticate to the app. And then what it's going to do in the background is kind of generated sample data. I'll show you in the code what I've done so that it knows what data that it needs to pull, so that it kind of generate all the metadata here. That's going to pass to the SharePoint or to the Microsoft Graph, which in turn passes it to the SharePoint API to create the SharePoint list item. And if I'm happy with it, I say next Friday. I think next Friday is the 5th of September, which is all right. And then if I'm happy with it, I can say confirm, or I can say to amend the data to be something else. So once say it's created successfully, even like put the link where it kind of get created. Again, it's just kind of tells me a few more things that I need to follow up if I need a reminder. And then if I go to the agent debug info, again, in that similar scenario, it kind of went through all the actions defined within the solution and tried to find the one which got run, and it kind of show you like which got run. So I got the get user information and create this item. So I'll show you where the volunteering item got created. It's a SharePoint list, and I'm using the default house tracker thing template, and that's got created here. And then the assigned to field is a people picker, and SharePoint, we need to pass what we call like the user ID from a user information list. So that's why I have like the additional action, which is to, I think it's this one, executive capabilities. Yeah, the get user information to find the user ID from that user information list before passing it to the create list item. So now if I walk through the solution, I'll just start. So similar way like Heidi showed like the agent, the SharePoint agent, like from a UI point of view, like this is like the M365 agents toolkit from Visual Studio. And by default, when you kind of create a new project, you'd have something called a declarative agent.json, which has like all the metadata for that particular agent, like the instruction, description, name. And then in here, I'm kind of have some conversation starters as well. And at the bottom, I have like actions, and the actions refers like to plugins, and I have two plugins, one which is the MS Graph plugin, and the other one is the Azure AI Search plugin. And if I look at the definition of the Azure AI Search plugin, that's where I'm kind of specifying like what this action actually mean. So within the Azure AI Search plugin, I got one particular action, which is search through the volunteering data from the Azure AI Search, and then from the MS Graph plugin, I have a few actions, functions to, okay, I didn't show like the get list items, but it's just like send an API call to get all the volunteering tasks assigned to me. And I have one which is a create the list item, and the get user information, again, pull the user information from the user information list and to use it to find the ID and then create the list item within it. And these actions, they are linked like to API specification file. Yeah, I just needs to mention about the authentication, which I showed in this slide, referring to the registration ID in the Teams developer portal. And all of those are linked to API specification file, where I'm kind of defining how the API call is going to be executed, like specifying like the URL, which is the endpoint for Azure AI instance, and like all like the parameters it requires to retrieve the data, and as well as the request body that is going to return, so that the agent or Copilot is able like to return the data appropriately. And not least, the instruction is where I'm kind of orchestrating all these different actions together. So I'll just showcase only one particular one, creating a new volunteering task. So in here, I'm kind of telling it like to first call like the user, get user information, data to get the user ID, and then assign it to one particular parameter, like assigned to the cop ID. That's what the API is expecting the data before it calls like the function create this item. And I got a few more instructions like how it needs to format the data, the payload for the API call. I think that's it from me. I'll pass on to Lee to finish off with the presentation.
Okay, thank you for that, Reshmee. So yeah, some of the issues we came across when building, one thing is it can get sort of when you've got no code in the middle and we're doing everything from a declarative agent, and obviously it's generative, it's keeping it on the right track can be a bit more of a challenge. So we did find that kind of almost too much information is bad, and being too vague is also bad. So there's kind of a sweet spot there of kind of getting it to do what we want it to do, and kind of stick to that. We also had an issue when we were generating the plugins, the API schemas, that we were using Kyoto, but it for whatever reason, when we were generating them that way, the declarative agent was just only ever choosing one of the plugins, never choosing the other one. And in the end, we used GitHub Copilot to generate them instead. We just said, generate this API, and it did it, and it worked. So not sure what happened there, but that's just something we came across as we went through. And another issue is that to get the user ID to assign into the list, we have to get all the users to find us, then kind of get that ID and then pass it back to create the list, which is a bit inefficient, but ultimately that's kind of the only way we could get it to work how we wanted it to work. As far as future improvements go, things we did think about, which ultimately didn't implement them. Full quad operation, so obviously we can create list items, we can read back, show me where I'm currently volunteering, but it'd be nice to be able to change the date or say, actually, I can't volunteer for this anymore. Can you remove it? Just never got around to that. Like I say, another one, I think a big one is adding some Azure function code or some code somewhere in between the agent and the API, so we can kind of be a bit more deterministic and kind of control it a bit better. And then I think kind of the kind of other one that I think would be good would be using TypeSpec for the API contracts. So as I said, we tried to use Kyoto, and then we also tried to obviously we've got Copilot to do them for us. We're a bit lazy, but it did work. But maybe next time we use TypeSpec. And I think that's everything, Reshmee.
Yeah, and this is a list of references which I saw David already kind of shared in the chat. Thank you very much for your time. And back to you, David or Lisa.
Awesome. Thank you both. Really, really great job. Appreciate you sharing that on how, it's not all related to just straight up business, right? We can use this technology. Obviously, this is related to passions of people who work for the business. So it's a really great opportunity. Thank you both for sharing how we can start utilizing some of this functionality and technology in ways that really bring more value to being an employee within an organization. So great job. Thank you. And thank you to every demo presenter today. Matt, Heidi, Reshmee, Lee, amazing work on all of that today. Really appreciate you bringing and sharing all that passion with each and every one of us on the call today. So keep it coming. All right, let's wrap the call up. Just in case you weren't aware, we do have other resources available to you. We've got over 2,900, almost 3,000 members of our community in our Discord server. This is a great one-stop shop to be able to collaborate with other members of the community. So if you're not aware, it's absolutely free to join, and you can get access at aka.ms/community/discord. We'd also love to get some feedback from you. So if things are working well, if they're not working well, or if there's improvements you would like to see, please let us know. Please do keep it positive, but we would like to know if there's areas of improvement you're looking at, or hey, just let us know you enjoy it and things are working. Management and our supporters like to see that as well. So we really, really appreciate it. The recording will be available in 24 hours or less on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. You can subscribe at ak.ms/community/YouTube. YouTube? I guess sometimes it's square like a cube, right? It's YouTube. You can also follow us on all the socials, on Twitter X, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. The next bi-weekly Microsoft 365 Power Platform call will be 2 weeks from today, September 11th. Our next SharePoint Framework call will be in 1 week, September 4th at 7 a.m. Pacific. So thank you all for being the best part of this community and all that you do each and every week to make it what it is. Have a wonderful rest of the week, a wonderful weekend and long weekend, I think, for those in the States. So enjoy that time to recharge your batteries. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.